Hello again. This is Brian Copeland talking. Welcome to another edition of Copeland's Corner. This is episode number 179. I can't believe we have done this many editions of this podcast. 179. All 179 have been available through audio. And about the last, I'm going to say maybe the last 20 to 25, we've been doing simultaneously on YouTube, so you can watch us as well as listen to us. So we had last week off because I was out of town. You noticed something different about me, and that's my goatee is gone. I had a part in Rob Reiner's new sequel to Spinal Tap, Spinal Tap 2. And when I came in for makeup on Tuesday when we shot in Louisiana, in New Orleans, the first thing they said is, "You've had a shave." It's like, well, wait, I thought I didn't have to shave. My audition didn't have to shave. Nope, your character has to shave. So there it goes. They shaved it off, and I'm leaving it off, I guess, for a while. It takes a while to get used to shaving off your goatee or shaving off your mustache, because in the beginning it feels like there's a foot between your nose and between your upper lip. So anyway, but just to fill you in a couple things before I bring the comics on and we talk about some of the news of the week, was a great shoot. It was just really, I've done a couple of parts in movies. I was in Rob Reiner's other film, The Bucket List, and I had a small part. I had a part in Venom where I played a reporter in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and a couple other things, but I've never had a part like this, and I can't go into detail about what the part is because, everything's kind of hush-hush until the movie comes out, when I'm not sure exactly when that is, because I think they're still shooting in Louisiana. But I will tell you this, my scene is a scene in an office that is my office, and I am visited by the three members of Spinal Tap, by Michael McKean and Christopher Guest and Harry Shearer in character, and we have an exchange, and that's all I can tell you about it. And the way that these Spinal Tap films work is like some of those others, like A Mighty Wind and Best in Show, where there's not really a script. You get a description of what the scene is and what the scene is supposed to be about, but there's no dialogue. And so you just know that at some point in the scene, you've got to, talk about how you've got a big dog at home, and hopefully you get around to that, before cut is yelled. So we shot it. And it went great, and I was scared to death because the three of those guys I did a little research before going down there, and found out that the three of those guys have been in an improv group or several improv groups together since 1966. So when you are regularly doing improvisation with another actor, you know what the rhythms are, and exactly how it is they work and when they're setting you up, and you kind of get into a groove. And here I am coming out of nowhere. I've just met these guys. I auditioned with them. It was over Zoom. It was the audition. I auditioned with them then, but to actually be in a room with them, and and knowing that they have rapport and everything, but it worked. It worked great. Crew was laughing, cast was laughing, Rob Reiner was laughing, and he came in and said, "I got exactly what it is that I need, but I liked it so much, I want you to do it again because I want to see what's going to come out of your mouth." Because when you're ad-libbing, you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. You're lucky it's gold, and a lot of times it's gold, and a lot of times it's crap. So I lucked out. I had one of those gold days. So I shot it twice, and that was it. So we'll see what gets used. I hope a lot of it gets used, because I was reading that in the first Spinal Tap, he shot 100 hours of footage. And the movie is an hour and like 38 minutes or something, which means that the overwhelming majority of that footage that got shot did not get used. So I'm hoping that because this went so well, that this gets used, and that it gets used prominently. Even if it doesn't, it was still like the experience of a lifetime. It was just an absolute blast being in New Orleans and hanging on the set and hanging out with these guys. So it was a lot of fun. I will tell you more about the film as I am allowed to. I will tell you this, on the day before I came in, I flew in on Sunday. I flew in on Easter, and they had shot a concert scene at LSU, from what I understand. I guess they've got an arena, and they packed it. and the guys played. And those, when you see them in the film playing and singing, that's really them. I mean, they really do play. And so they packed it, and over the years, between the first film and between this film, they have gone on tour 3 or 4 times, and I think they've even released a couple of albums. So LSU apparently was packed while they performed a concert, and the footage from that concert is apparently going to be in the film. And Leslie Stahl from 60 Minutes was there, so apparently 60 Minutes is doing a big piece on the film. So the film should be huge. And if it's anything like the first one was, and by all indications it is, based on what it is I saw, based on what it is that I read in the synopsis about how the story is laid out, it should be pretty good. It should be pretty good. So anyway, so that's where I was last week, and that's why I am clean. I have a baby's butt for a face right now. All right. With that, let's get on with more. So I was going to say more serious things, but yeah, there's serious topics. But if you've watched or listened to this podcast, sometimes we're funny, sometimes we're heavy, but we're always talking about something where we can give you some information or give you some food for thought. All that coming up right now. This podcast that we call Headliners on the Headlines. We heavy hitters joining us this week. Johnny Steele is with us, Don Reed, and Chris Riggins is here. Welcome, guys. Good to have you.
Hey.
So let's just jump right into it. I read an article today, and it's like the second article that I read about how people are fleeing California. And like every year since California has joined the union, California has grown in population. And last year, for the first time, California lost something like 75,000 people. And they interview these people, and they say they're leaving because cost of living is too high, can't afford a house, I can work remotely so I can go live in Nebraska or somewhere like that and still, make Silicon Valley money that'll go a heck of a lot faster, a heck of a lot farther if I'm far away. Well, this year, they say so far in this first quarter this year, we're on track to lose more people than we lost last year. And they say part of it, too, is that people are dying, and millennials and Gen Zers are not having kids. They're just not having kids. So they say that that's part of it. So my question is, I've been here in California since I was 6. So I've been here for most of my life, and I've traveled the country like you guys have doing comedy. And there is no place that I found that I would rather live than here. And so I'm curious as to whether or not there's anything that could make you leave California. I know a lot of comics who've left for Nevada because of the fact they don't have state income tax and that kind of stuff. But there's nothing I can think of that would make me, unless, you lost my house or something and had nowhere else to go, I wouldn't want to leave California.
A rich woman would make me leave. Johnny, you never have to work again. And I got a nice house with a swimming pool. Don't worry about the summer heat. We got pools and air conditioning. Don't worry about the winter. We're going to go down to Arizona to my other house. Okay. Where's my realtor?
I'm not leaving California because if she's rich, I'm like, baby, we need some land here. We need some property, maybe get a duplex to 2, rent it out. We could get us an apartment building. Like, I don't see anything that could drive me out of California. Like, I do love New York and I will live in New York, but when that winter hits, I'm ready to come back to 60, 70 degree weather. I get it, but I think it's one of those things where people are always looking at the grass is greener on the other side, not realizing that you're probably on some of the greenest grass on earth. The simple fact that the opportunities here are way better than other places. Like I was looking at this thing the other day, and people are comparing prices in Memphis to prices in the Bay Area. And I'm like, yeah, but what you're trading is you're trading culture, you're trading job opportunities, the amount of job opportunities. Because I've been to places like Memphis, and Memphis is a great city if you have a very small need of things. Like if you just want to work your regular 9-to-5 job and come home and go get you some drinks on the weekend and not really do anything, Memphis is great. But
that's fine.
if you want opportunity to grow and do things you've never done before, you got to stay in California.
If you want a bigger life, if you want to live a bigger life, only other place I've go ahead, John.
Other thing about California, it's I think it's number 5 economy in the world.
Yeah.
Compared to even other countries. So how are you going to really beat that? Now I tried to live in with a wealthy woman. Well, her father was the one with the money. And then he met me, and then it was over. But
exactly.
I don't know if I'll ever leave again.
These things are very cyclical too, right? Everyone's going crazy. Oh my God, this happened for 3 months, or this happened. Look at it. The end of the Democratic Party was called probably 10 times in my lifetime, half as many times for the Republicans. I mean, things ebb and flow. Everything ebb and flows. And people aren't having as many kids. I got plenty of friends who retired with their, pension from a school district or a city or whatnot, and that'll buy them anything they want in these other states, right? So they just say, hey, we'll sell our house in the East Bay for $800,000. We're going to walk with $600,000. We could buy a house and have $300,000 laying over. We got $150,000 a year coming in pension. So why? I mean, that certainly would be an incentive. It is an incentive for some people, but all this blows over. I mean, I highly, when you think about, I used to go to cities, we all did, right? You go to one town or another, and you said, hey, where's the cool neighborhood with the used bookstore and the coffee houses? And they'd scratch their heads and whatnot. Even places, I don't know, back 20 years ago, like Dallas, like Denver. I mean, Dallas had one or two. Here, Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco, there's literally about 40 neighborhoods. I bring friends over to Berkeley and I take them up to these, and they're like, wow, right in the middle of a residential area, boom, there's a coffee house, a grocery store, 6 shops, a beer garden. I think that's happening more and more out there, but it's been here for decades, and it's much more abundant here. So I don't know. I mean,
the one thing here is though, you talk about being cyclical, is it's never happened before. California joined the Union in like 1850, and the population has, until last year, the population has never decreased in all of those years. And we actually lost a representative. The representatives in the House is based upon population of your state. Sure, yeah. And we, for the first time ever, we lost a representative. So it's not really cyclical, because this is the first time.
But that's perfect storm stuff. I mean, it's cyclical that, more people move out, 1 year than the next year. But it's kind of a perfect storm. First there was COVID, and then there was, then the sort of crime thing is sort of scaring people away. Cost of the number of percentage of people who can afford a, average mid-class family house is lowest it's ever been. Forest fires, people are not getting insured. I've had friends burned out twice. They lost their houses twice up in the sort of St. Helena, Napa Valley, beyond there, so these kinds of forest fires, which also decrease the number of available housing, raise the price of new materials, because now you got to build more houses, right? So that there's, it's kind of a perfect stormy thing, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you, I read a piece last week about because the number one place, believe it or not, the top 2 places that people are fleeing California for are Texas and Florida. And I read, Texas and Austin in particular, but Texas and Florida. So they interviewed some people in Texas and Florida, and they're having buyer's remorse and trying to get the hell out of there as fast as they can, because they said that they had their vacation goggles on. And that they weren't prepared for the weather being as extreme as it was. They weren't prepared for DeSantis and banning books. And, now they've made it a crime to use the internet if you're under 14 and all of this other ridiculous nonsense.
And how much money they're going to make at their job now. And the cost of living is changed. Well, it's like I was in Austin performing, and I said, hey, I'm from the Bay Area, and I got booed. And I'm going to tell you why I got booed. Because these people are tired of these Californians from the Bay Area moving down there with their tech money, clean up stuff, and then not do anything. And and I also think the reason why California is losing so many people is because we've had so many people that aren't from California move to California for their vacation goggles. Because when the tech companies were recruiting, they were going to Nebraska, Tennessee. They were going to these middle flyover states and bringing these people to our culture. And they were like, oh, we don't like all this culture. We don't like all this. So we're leaving. We're taking our California money now and we're going back to where we're from because it's safe, it's comfortable there. And then the big fear, the crime wave. And it's like, yeah, there's crime everywhere, fam. Oakland has always been known for its crime. Matter of fact, that was something we prided ourselves on, the fact that we were this revolutionary crime-filled city. You know what I mean?
We're number one.
Yeah, we're number one. We're home of the Black Panthers and we're home of the highest crime rate. Cool. It's just how it goes. And we accepted that. But also, I think that was when Oakland was just a small city next to San Francisco. Right. Now Oakland has become a destination city. So now all those things that we knew were there years before are being highlighted to a point where people think that that's all it is. That's all there is. There's nothing but crime in Oakland. And then I'm in Oakland and I'm seeing the very difference of what it is that we're dealing with people who aren't from here, who don't understand here, and they're leaving in numbers. And I say good riddance. Bye-bye.
There's nowhere to park. That's exactly how I feel.
Bye-bye. I have a friend that lives, he worked at East Tennessee State University. And seeing the house he got for $500,000 is mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And if you get enough of that, if you say you have some family that lives in the Midwest area and you visit them at Christmas, whatever, and you start getting up in age and you've got a sizable amount of money, you have a house, as Johnny mentioned, that's worth X, and you go there and visit your family and say, you're going to tell me I can live up the hill for my parents in this spot for a fraction of what I'm living in California? I'm sure that's going to drive a number of people, Well,
I'll tell you, I have a relative who recently left California for North Carolina, for Charlotte, the Charlotte area. And she and her boyfriend built a house. They actually built a house. And it's a 4-bedroom, a 4 and 2, I think it is. A gorgeous, all new appliances, new everything. And they built it for about 15% of what it would cost me to buy my house right now. 15% they were able to buy this for. And it's crazy. I mean, it's like you could buy or build a house there for what the down payment is on a house in California, literally what the down payment is.
One other thought that I recognize, there was a young woman I know, friend of mine. She moved here to California, in fact, to Los Angeles to act, right? Mm-hmm. And because of COVID, they started doing a massive amount of Zoom
auditions,
as you did.
Yeah.
So also the number of people aspiring to be involved in entertainment can now audition from afar and live at a distant spot that is far more cost effective than fly in for the job and then leave. Because she moved here before COVID and then got trapped here with COVID. She didn't leave. And then she left. And now she's just flying when she gets a gig.
When she flies in. Yeah. I will tell you, all the years, there have been 2 places that I have found that I would live. And now even that's changed. The 2 places I like the most, I like the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and I liked Seattle. But then I was at Phoenix. I have a friend in Scottsdale who I visit a couple times a year. And I went in July. And in July, it was 108 degrees at midnight. And I was like, screw that. And Seattle, the rain. I just can't take. It's beautiful when it's not raining.
People in Seattle, like I literally took for granted how much sun we get because my homies from Seattle came down and we were all in the house watching the game. And I'm like, why are you guys outside? And they're like, we don't see the sun that much. We're staying outside in the sun until it goes down. Then we'll come inside. And it didn't hit me. And that's why Seattle has such a high depression rate. And then
it does. The highest in the country, I think.
The Phoenix area, it's 1,000,000 degrees. Then you got to deal with maggots. And then you got to, you got to deal with the MAGA crew. You got to deal with the border patrol people. And then you got to think about all the aspects of your living before you decide whether you want to go. The only 2 places I've been to that I really would consider moving to, and that is New York City. And that's because it has everything I need there, plus entertainment and all that, in Berlin. And Berlin, because it's affordable, it's still got all the opportunities, it's still a nice culture, it's healthcare, weed. You can do everything I do here in Berlin minus having a beach. You
just explained something because I had invited Ngaio B. You guys all know Ngaio, who was a regular on the show, to come on today. And he says, I'm in Berlin. I'm thinking, what's he doing in Berlin? Now I get it. Just weed.
Yeah. What are you asking with Ngaio?
In Berlin, you could work at a coffee house and still make enough money to live comfortably, go on a vacation for 2 weeks, and possibly buy a home in the future. It's literally set up for you to win. And, I know Berlin has its downfalls. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but if I'm looking at things, this is what I look at. And people leaving California for Texas and Florida, they really do have their vacation goggles on, because when you go to Texas, if you're not in Austin, you're in Texas.
No, you're in Texas.
You go to Florida. If you're not in Miami, you're in Florida. Mm-hmm. So people forget that. Like, there's a difference between Austin, Texas, and Texas.
And the rest of Texas. You had something you were going to show us. You were
a couple of things was, certainly gasoline is cheaper in houses and everything like that. But I have friends who are spending $1,000 in winter months on heating and, $800 here. I don't know if you can see where is that? That's my electricity bill. Can you see it?
That's it? Are you kidding me?
$60 for March. $60. I don't know if you can see it.
Okay, but what's your gas?
That's the whole thing. That's the whole boot.
That's gas and electric, because I'm by myself in my house, and I have not been using the heat very much. I've got a gas burning stove and a gas burning fireplace, and my PG&E bill has been $500 a month or more over the course of the last 3 months. And it was the same thing last winter. And they say it's because the price of gas, because when I call them bitch, they say the price of gas has gone up. And all my neighbors are saying the same thing. $500 a month in the PG&E bill.
That's my whole nut. Let me see what my gas is. My gas is half that. So I don't know what you're doing. I'm not going to make any jokes about black people being cold, but I'm just going to say, I'm just going to look at my bill. Yeah, my gas bill is like $30 of that. You want to move in with me?
I had to move in with you. Yeah, $500. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Right, I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. I've had an extension cord running from your house to my house. Sorry. I didn't think you noticed it, but okay.
My cable bill's higher too. Is that you? Have you guys cut cable, by the way? Yeah, because my kids keep trying to get me to cut. I got DirecTV now, but it's like I'm looking at it and going, why am I paying all this money?
No, that's a waste of money.
No, so do you have cable anymore?
I have absolutely no cable whatsoever. No, I just use streaming in the internet. You don't need cable.
Yeah, I do all the Netflix, Hulu. The messed up part is having all those streaming services together ends up costing about as much as cable, because you got to pay for the internet.
Well, you get that many. Who needs that many though?
Yeah, see, that's what you say now, but then you realize that them last few episodes of This Is Us is on Hulu, and you can't get it any other way, and you got to catch up. Don, you're gonna spend that $8.99 just to watch that. Like what I do is I'll subscribe just to watch something, and as soon as I'm done, cancel that and wait for the next thing.
I do that, but I forget to unsubscribe, and then that's where they get me.
It's the bundle thing, because like I want
to watch that tennis match on CBS, and I forget, and I'm not even watching Paramount Plus at all, but they get me.
Yeah. That's how they get you.
Brian, I know this might sound crazy, but I put a set of rabbit ears on the TV. I put them away when I'm not using them. I'm mostly a football guy, as you probably know.
Yeah.
Football starts at 9:00 in the morning, SEC, East Coast football, your Alabamas and whatnot. And it goes till at 9:00 at night with what used to be the Pac-12. There are 2 games on every network channel, football, and I assume the same is similar with basketball and other sports, all day Saturday and pros all day Sunday. You can't always watch exactly the match you want, but
But still, yeah, well, I've got to look into it, because that's just, it's killing me. It's absolutely killing me. What I'm paying for it. I'm thinking about, it's local channels, and I like to watch cable news and all that. And there must be a way to do it without.
No wonder you got to get all these movie roles. You got $1,000 in cable and electricity every month. Basically. And that's, I wish it was an exaggeration. Let me ask you this. We were talking about
Florida, and there is a case in Florida right now. Actress by the name of Gina Carano, and she, she is. You familiar with her? Okay, I'd never heard of her before.
Great MMA fighter. Terrible actor.
She played a bounty hunter on Disney's The Mandalorian, which I've never seen. I guess that's a Star Wars show, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what the deal is that she's posted a lot of crazy shit on X/Twitter over the years, denying the 2020 election, objecting to COVID restrictions, She refused to show support for trans rights. So Disney had her do some kind of a Zoom meeting with a LGBTQ organization, and she pissed them off. And the final straw came when she posted that the way that conservatives are treated on social media is comparable to how Jews were treated during the Holocaust. That's what and she said there were thousands of people, thousands of Jews killed, not millions, thousands, and it was comparable to how conservatives are being treated on social media. So Disney said, that's the last straw, you're out. So she's suing them, and Disney's trying to get it dropped, saying that they have a First Amendment right to determine, who it is that represents their company. But Elon Musk is paying her legal bills, and Elon Musk says he'll pay the legal bills of anybody who gets fired for anything that they posted on his platform. He'll pay the bills.
Punched, though.
Pardon?
People keep forgetting she's an MMA fighter. She's been hit in the head. She ain't getting the head.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is Disney even gave her opportunity to cool it. Disney said, look, fam, we get it. You don't have to believe everything we believe. But as long as you work for us, you can't say these things. Like, just be cool. Like, you can have your beliefs. You can believe, you can be anti-vax, you can be all that. But if we require vax for you to work here, you got to get vaxxed. You can believe whatever you want about trans people, but if you're going to work here, you better keep that to yourself. And she didn't, and she got fired. And it's just like any job that has a conduct clause that says you can't be saying these things because you're representing us. People don't know her from MMA. People know her from working for Disney. So now it's kind of like, yeah, you got fired for doing what they asked you not to do. And you can't sit here now. The thing that's funny is that you're getting treated like Jews. Okay. Honestly, and this may get us all canceled. I kind of feel like maybe we should start treating them like that. Maybe if we really threw them in an oven, they'd understand this is what really happened. You not being able to post some shit is not the same.
The same thing.
Life being taken.
And somebody rounding up your family and putting them in a gas chamber. I mean, how can you make? I mean, because you see just some of the irrational comparisons that the far right makes. I mean, everything is compared to slavery, or everything is compared to Jim Crow, and it's like, you don't know what in the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, they do that to make us feel like, because that's their way of trying to get us to say, oh, well, then we relate, then we should get along. Okay, well, if you're being treated like slaves and my people are treated like slaves, we're friends now. And it's just literally the most virtue signaling. It's pathetic. And let's not even say that it's just the right side, because there are a lot of people on the left side who over embellish things, who, I'm being attacked. It's like, no, you're being disagreed with. And that's okay. Like,
everybody's a Nazi who is to the right of you if you're a Bay Area far left. Everyone's a Nazi. So it's just, it's a similar thing. You're right. And don't forget, this is not new. You can go back to Jimmy the Greek. Remember him? Got lots of talk about Gilbert Gottfried. Remember him?
Of course.
Black Duck or something. And remember what happened, Brian?
He got fired. I had Gilbert did headliners on the headlines for me once. And I was really surprised because I'd never met him before. And he was so soft spoken, and he talked about all his controversies about, well, the first one was the 9/11 controversy, where he was doing a roast of somebody. I can't remember who was being roasted. I want to say it was like John Stamos or somebody. And he comes up to the dais, and this is like, September 13th, and he said, I was a little late getting here because my plane took a detour to the Empire State Building. And so people booed, and he goes, too soon? And that's where too soon came from, by the way, was that. So then since he's lost them already, he starts telling the aristocrats joke. He starts telling the aristocrats joke. But he got fired from that gig. He got fired from the Affleck gig. I can't remember what did he do with the Affleck gig that he got fired for.
Wasn't it wasn't it a Asian voice of some sort? Isn't that what he was? I forget exactly. Yeah.
It was something like that. And it was a third thing that he got in trouble for. Yeah. And I don't know if he really did this or if this was just a joke that he told and got in trouble because he told the joke. But what the joke was he said it like it was like at a dinner. It was like at a black tie thing. He goes, I met Jackie Onassis last week for the first time. And I didn't know what do you say to Jackie Onassis. So I said, so where were you when Kennedy got shot? It's like, how do you even get there?
Now, I know we're all biased here a little bit, but I give comics a little bit of free reign, and here's why. We trade in exaggeration. I mean, I can take any act. I have a joke about my sister, and the joke is that she holds the Western States regional record for going the longest without picking up a bill after a fucking family dinner. Now it's an exaggeration. There's no such record. There's no 7 states regional classification. She's a grifter and a cheapskate, in my opinion. Maybe not hers or her neighbors. But so it's an exaggeration. She's probably paid some point somewhere. So, I don't want someone coming after me from the American Grifters Association trying to cancel me because, it's jokes I make about myself, I've been trying to lose, I recently realized I've been trying to lose 10 pounds for 10 years, and you just exaggerate. And, so I think we get a little bit of freedom. I mean, I don't know. There are things that are too sensitive. And here's another thing. Let's face it. And I think you guys are probably in there too a little bit, maybe Don less, but we like to go. It's my manager used to call it cookie jar humor. Your mom says, don't go in that cookie jar until dinner. As soon as she turns her back, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Reaching in the cookie jar. It's not even the cookie. It's taking a risk, taking a chance, pushing the envelope a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
So, So it was Japan tweets. I looked it up. Gilbert Gottfried. Remember, it was after the tsunami. And he said something like, "Oh, here comes my house," or something like something. Like
I'm laughing at it because I've got a sick sense of humor, and it's not funny. It's because people died, but it's funny.
These things that people recoil at when the 4 of us are behind closed doors in the green room having a beer or something, and someone says something, we all howl. If you did that thing, on your appearance on the CBS Nightly News or something, you're
or on stage. Or let me ask you guys this: I saw something on my Facebook feed in the last week that just really bothered me. There's a comic, and you guys may know him. I'm not going to mention him by name. He's based in the Midwest. And, back in the day, I used to work with him a lot and just funnier than hell. And he posted about how he's having trouble getting booked and he finally asked the club owner, what's the problem? And the club owner said to him, he's in his 60s. Club owner said to him, you're too old. You don't have anything to say to the audiences who are coming in now. He goes, what are you talking about? The first 25 minutes of my act is stuff that's in the news. Well, they don't want to hear an old guy talking about the news. You're too old for our audiences, and that's why we're not giving you dates. And first of all, it's unbelievable that you would say that because it's age discrimination. However, I think you get a pass in show business on age discrimination. I think that's one of the few occupations where you can't sue based upon that they are allowed.
The one thing I will say in this situation is it's only okay if the club has A, gotten complaints, B, their demographic is so young that they know it's just not going to be a good connect. Because there's clubs that I don't do, and I've gone to the club and I realize why I don't do the club. Okay, yeah, you guys don't want to hear my black take. You want to hear angry white guys talk. That's your club. Like, okay, you can say like the Mothership in Austin. That is a safe space for those type of comics to go there, be on the edge, be crass, all that. And that's their space. And I probably will never get booked to do that. And I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. I think, in my mind, and I'm not saying he's wrong for feeling how he feels. I always feel that when these type of things happen, you have to really do a self-evaluation. You got to really say, how did I get to a point where these people see that as opposed to what I see? Because it could be very simple that he went up there one night in that venue and they were like, ooh, no. Because I've seen I've seen funny comics go up, do a show at a certain venue, and they try something new or they do a set that isn't the best set or it isn't really, or they're working stuff out. And the club's like, well, you wasted your opportunity to get in here by doing a set that doesn't fit here. And we can't do it. Now, I don't think the age thing should be an issue. I don't think any club should say you're too old, because I think it's important for young people to hear old people's views. I think.
And see, here's my argument. My argument to that would be, all right, so let me get this straight. If Jerry Seinfeld came in here and said he wanted to headline, are you going to tell him he's too old? You know, he's older than this comic is. You know, if somebody like that came in.
Here's the difference. Comedy is like the mob. Once you're made in the mob, no one can touch you and you're in forever and you're protected forever. Once you're famous, it's very hard to unfamous somebody. I mean, every time I turn around, Jimmy Walker is playing somewhere around the neighborhood. When was the last time Good Times was on the air?
I didn't even know he was still working.
Oh, yeah. I see him at casinos and everything. So you can't unfamous people.
And he actually acts it out. He was at a club out in Novato,
California. Okay.
Who goes there and jam-packed out the door.
So now if you're famous, you can't unfamous somebody, and he might be 70.
Well, you can. Bill Cosby. You can.
Well, it's hard to.
Well, but Cosby's still famous.
Now he's infamous.
Exactly. He's still famous. He's just a different kind of famous now.
Yeah.
Right. Unpopular kind
of
famous.
I think that's what it is. It's infamous and there's famous. And infamous can still be good too, depending on what you're infamous for. Like the fact that people still care what OJ thinks. The fact that people, you know what I mean? Like that type of behavior. Diddy is on the way to being infamous. It's like you don't want to go too far. But
here's how Gilbert Gottfried got infamous or unfamous or whatever. Here's the Japan joke. After the tsunami washed ashore and wiped everything away, he says, I just split up with my girlfriend, but like the Japanese say, don't worry, there'll be another one floating by any minute now. He said that like days after the tsunami had destroyed. You know?
Yeah, that joke would have.
Look at Brian.
Oh my God!
Look at Brian. How hard he's laughing.
That joke would have killed.
See, I've got a sixth sense of humor. I've got a comic sense of humor. And see, these are things that I'm going to get emails. I know I'm going to get emails. That wasn't funny. Why were you letting that people die? I know I'm going to get that. I know I will get that from listeners and from viewers. But it is funny, and when comics get behind closed doors, we tell those jokes that we usually can't tell. Or a Friday Night Late Show when you had a couple of cocktails in you, you might say, you know, the behind doors green room jokes that you wouldn't tell otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one other note about all this, because I sort of studied this as I got older, and we're all getting to a certain age. I sort of figured, am I relevant still? And the way when you look at comics who are relevant, yeah, they might have been famous before, but they also. Did you ever hear this term 5-ticket comic? So my manager said, Johnny, you sell tickets to a couple of guys who want to hear your smart ass, offhand, irreverent, and take no prisoners. But you sell 1 or 2 tickets. 5-ticket. Here's how a 5-ticket guy works. He sells a ticket to the 13-year-old boy, the 15-year-old daughter, the son, the daughter, the 38-year-old mom, the 42-year-old dad, and the 65-year-old grandpa. The act is accessible and relevant to all of them. There's no politics, no sex, no religion, no anti-patriotism, no Camus references. No, my aging back is killing me. Everybody gets the premise. Everybody gets the punchline. The setup is easy. Gaffigan, Brian Regan, and you probably know some of your own comics.
Well, I'll tell you again,
everyone.
Where it's a dirty word to say it now, it's the truth. And, and that's Cosby. I worked with Cosby for 10 years when he would come to the Bay Area and stuff. And, regardless of all of the other things, and I don't mean to diminish that at all or what's happened to him. So I'm going to make sure I'm clear about that. But it was interesting to watch his act because you would see people in the audience, and I'm not exaggerating, from 8 to 80. People would bring their kids and the kids would laugh.
Sure.
I mean, they were actually getting, he would do the dentist routine and stuff, and the kids were laughing and the 80-year-olds were laughing. But that's a rare breed. How do you do that?
I had to pull stuff out of my own act. I have jokes about having played football for 10 years and my body's mangled. And you guys are all the same age, so you'll love this. I said, when I was in high school, all I wanted to do was play at Stanford. Now all I want to do is not walk like Fred Sanford. Hold the car. I'm walking like exactly. And that worked 20 years ago. It worked 15 years ago. It just doesn't work. So I I comb through and pull those things out so I can. I'll pull that out if I'm doing a 55 and up community, but I'll pull it out for, I'll be at the punchline next week, 2 weeks from now, and I'm going to not do that generally.
All right, let me ask you this question too, because you do these shows at the Punchline in San Francisco on occasion, where I think it's just comics from the 80s and the 90s, where like you and Larry Bubbles Brown and some of the really hysterical guys, you guys get together and you do, you're doing a show that, and please don't take this the wrong way, it's an oldies show, basically, because we call it
the old school comedy blowout.
And you're probably getting the people who came and saw you back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And see, to me, and no offense, I won't do a show like that. And the reason being is because to me, it's like seeing my favorite band that I loved in high school who's now playing at the Alameda County Fair.
Yeah. No.
Who books that?
I highly disagree. I highly disagree, because I know I could do that show, and I could do open as a warm up for a Disney kids show. If you got the scope, you got the scope. You have the capability to do a Dirty Wild room or do another room. If you got that capability to shift your material, you've done it long enough. You can do I could do the old school show and go do a show at a college and still grab it.
So Don is absolutely right. So Brian, we felt like you felt at first, and we were even looking to go out and do 55 and up communities and golf country clubs and all that. And I'm telling you, ask Michael Meehan is on the show. Ask any of the staff members who come up after the people who come up after the show and talk to us are under 30. The people who are screaming in the front row are under 30, because two things. One, I've made my act accessible to everyone. And then number two, in some cases where Michael Meehan has a reference, he does what if Charles Bronson, 70s action revenge film star, had a cooking show? Well, these kids don't know Charles Bronson, but the bit is so ridiculous. Hey, knock, knock, who's there? Could be some punks. I'll put my 45 in this turkey. No one will think I'm packing heat in a flightless bird. It's crazy and outlandish. I saw a comic years ago, real quickly, Leland Brown. You remember him, the guitar guy?
Leland Cotton Brown.
Yeah, and he was doing a Tom Waits singing the Flintstones song, and I saw So after I saw a guy howling, and I went to the guy, I knew he wasn't a Tom Waits fan. I went over and said, "You like Tom Waits?" And he said, "No, who's Tom Waits?" And I said, "That's who Leland was singing the Flintstones song is." I don't know who the hell it was, but it was funny as heck, man. I logged that in my brain. It wasn't a setup and a punchline syllogism joke. He acted out the bit, as does Michael Meehan, in a way that you don't necessarily have to remember or know all the variables. You get the idea. Some guy who hates punks, who was a kick-ass in revenge movies, now has a cooking show, and he thinks there's punks everywhere, and he's hiding a gun in a turkey. It's funny. Mm-hmm. So make the bit so outlandish and so ridiculous, and do characters don't always speak in the narrative right at them. So there are ways to get around all this. So believe it or not, you come on down. We're there May 1st. Come on down. Do a set if you want. I guarantee you, half the crowd will be under 30 or 35, and the people knocking on our door after, they came up and said, "We go to a lot of comedy shows. It's vagina this, blah, blah, blah. This is the funniest, most clever show we've done." Yeah, we've all been doing it for 40 years, and the guys are usually watching have been doing it for 6 or 8 years. So we're better comics. And so if you just comb through your act a little bit and figure out what might confuse or alienate them and get rid of it or tweak it, you'll be okay.
Without pandering. That's the hard part. Is you can't pander.
No, I'm not pandering. I don't pander to anybody.
I'm not accusing you of pandering.
I'm telling you this. Let me tell you a Brian Copeland joke. You can't spank your kids. In what city was it? Berkeley? Remember the bit?
I don't remember.
Remember?
I forgot more jokes than most guys write.
That's a lie. But you can definitely spank your kids in Berkeley. I like to present my mother as evidence of that.
So Brian had a bit. You couldn't spank your kids in one town. So the kids are getting unruly in the car, and the driver turns back there and says, "You just wait until we get to Albany." That'll work for any audience age, any political persuasion, anything. A joke like that will work for everybody. I remember you doing that bit every night. It worked every time, and I would look at the audience, and everybody got it. Dumb guys, smart guys, conservatives, liberals, young people, old people.
And I'm trying to think, where was I? Do now I vaguely remember the joke, but it was something along the line of wherever it was illegal to spank your kids. And the joke was, I'm driving and I go, as soon as we get to Albany, your ass is mine.
Right.
It was something like that.
Do I have to help you with your own act?
Well, there's so much stuff you forget. I mean, there's so much stuff that you forget.
You remember other people's acts because you watched it.
You had a good inappropriate joke. Something about a amusement ride that was a Martin Luther King ride. Did you have a bit like that?
Yeah. Well, here's what that joke was, and that joke I still will do on occasion. And that was that is that the King estate, which was run by Dexter, his son Dexter. He had 4 kids, and his son Dexter, the second kid, one was Martin Luther King III, became a preacher, and Dexter became a businessman. And so he went to Graceland and met with Priscilla Presley to try to figure out how to market his father the way she marketed Elvis, because Elvis was only worth $2 million when he died, and Graceland's worth $2 billion. And so he came up with this idea for an "I Have a Dream" theme park. And "I Have a Dream" theme park. And no, it was called it was the I Have a Dream theme park, and they would have the I Have a Dream ride. And I think, what was the joke I did? The joke I did was like, how they're going to market it: free at last, buy one at the regular price, and the second ticket will be free at last. It was something like that. But yeah, so there's stuff like that you can do that anybody will get. And by the way, I'm not slamming that show. I want to be real clear with what I said, Johnny. I'm not. I didn't take that at all. I just was thinking about, as I said, it's like I went and saw, I mentioned this before, embarrassingly, that I went and saw Ariel Speedwagon.
You shouldn't have said that. You should not have mentioned that.
I got one. I got a better one for you than that. Speaking of county fair acts, guess who they're making a biopic? See, musical biopics are huge now because the Bob Marley biopic did so well that now they're doing everybody. There's an Amy Winehouse one coming out, and there's all these people that are making movies. They're making an Air Supply biopic because there were so many questions about Air Supply that I wanted to know. Yeah. About the bread of the 80s. There's so many questions about Air. So many questions. Were you really all out of love?
You know what biography I want? I want Cameo. I want to know Larry Blackman's need for this cod piece. I want to know all because Just Like Candy was a song about drugs. Oh, I just found that out.
I just found it out just now.
Just Like Candy. They talking about cocaine.
You guys I'm gonna all right, disclosure, Brian. 2017, and if you guys can see that.
Oh my God.
I always have a guitar in my hand. I opened for Air Supply, sold out crowd, Dean Lesher, Walnut Creek, 600 people in there. And ladies, they went down the aisles with the remote on their guitars. And ladies were coming. They had security guards. Women were jumping up at them and everything. It's crazy.
I can beat that. I opened for Air Supply, believe it or not.
Where?
I opened for Air Supply at the Circle Star Theater.
Oh, there you go.
Towards the end of the Circle Star Theater. Circle Star Theater was, if you're listening from outside the Bay Area, the Circle Star Theater was a very, very famous theater. And where was it? San Carlos? Is that where it was?
Yeah.
And what the deal was, and they had Nat King Cole played his last concert there before he died. I saw Sinatra there, people like that. Yeah. And what the deal was that the stage spun. You're on a stage, and the stage rotated slowly, 360 degrees. So the whole time you're doing your set, the stage is spinning. So you start telling a joke you look at one person in the audience, and you look up at somebody else because they're behind you. And that was the weird. I only played it once. That was the weirdest experience, but it worked. And they were, and I will tell you, I when I was in college, girls loved Air Supply, and so I went to a number of Air Supply concerts. But I'm gonna go pay. I'm not paying $20 to go see, the behind the scenes. I'm not that interested.
You just watch it
here. I have to talk so my camera will come on, but Read It and Weep signed. It's signed.
Oh my God. That's it. And here's the thing that I don't get is, why do you have it accessible? that you could grab it in 2 seconds.
Why is it
What
right
do you have
there?
that? Just in case someone brings up air supply, I want to be ready.
I have 18 guitars and 40 picks within reach of me right now, including one I'm holding.
Oh, Nevin.
I'm all out of love.
Oh, they had a lot of hits. They did have a lot of hits. Girl, you're every woman in the world to me. So maybe I will go see it.
Stop it.
Let's see. Actually, serious one I wanted to get to before we get out of here, and that is the Crumley. I don't know if you've been following the Crumley family case. Ethan Crumley was a 15-year-old kid who in 2021 shot up his school, and he killed 4 of his classmates and wounded several others. And he pled guilty, was sentenced to life without parole. Then they find out the backstory. And the backstory is that he had serious mental problems, and his parents gave him a gun. They bought him the gun as an early Christmas present after Thanksgiving. And it's between Thanksgiving and Christmas break that he shot all these people. So they found his journals and texts and things where he said he's hearing voices. He's asked his parents to get him help. He asked his father, please get me a therapist. And his father said, suck it up. His father told him to suck it up. So for the first time ever, the parents of the school shooter were charged with manslaughter. And in separate trials, they were both convicted of manslaughter. And yesterday, they were sentenced to 10 to 15 years.
Good.
10 to 15 years. So I'm asking, you're saying good. Do you think that they should be charged? Their argument was they didn't pull the trigger, but the prosecution was like, you had multiple warnings. The day that he shot the kid, here's the biggest thing. The day that their son killed these kids, they were called to the counselor's office because he turned in his math homework. And on his math homework, he had drawings of somebody holding a gun and people laying on the ground having been shot. And they called the parents in from work, said, this is it. And the parents kind of blew it off and didn't even take him out of school that day. And then later on that day, before the school day was over, he shot all these people. So, so do you think that this was the right call? And do you think that any parents whose kids, get hold of their gun and they buy them a gun and they shoot up the school should be held responsible?
Parenting is not a precise science. Nobody has ever figured it completely out. No parents are perfect. And I know kids are not easy to raise. I hate to say it's a crapshoot. Like you just got to realize that you're raising a human that may have mental issues that you don't understand. But in this circumstance, this child knew he needed help. He knew what was best for him. He knew he wasn't feeling right. And he went to these adults and said, Mom, Dad, I need help. I'm hurting. And they ignored him. And I know it's not, like I said, it's not easy being a parent. I'm not saying that I know these people struggle, but I don't know as a father. If my daughters came to me in any inkling and said, Dad, I'm in pain, I'm dropping everything to figure out how to get my babies help. How to make sure that they are safe and happy and healthy. And these parents ignored their child. Why? Because they felt it was suck it up. Well, now you suck it up. I hope you have to suck it up for 15 because there's, like I said, there's no manual to raising kids. Brian, Don.
I know. I raised 3 of them. Single dad and raised 3 of them.
If we're all sitting here as fathers, we know there is no guidebook to how you do this, but you have to listen to these humans you made. You have to hear them. You have to watch them. Like I saw my daughter looking sad and I was like, baby, what's wrong? Like I picked up on it and she was upset because she was having trouble with her math homework. So we got her a tutor and we sat there with her for hours trying to figure this out. And that's how you do it. And those parents, I felt they should get life too. That's just me. But
I think if you can, if the court of law can establish you were exposed to or had knowledge of the help that was needed, like the calls for help, the journals, things of that nature. If you can establish that the parent was exposed to that information, then they should be liable as well. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Johnny?
You know what those parents should have told that kid, Brian? When we get to Albany, you are going to get you're going to get, young man, all this shooting and whatnot.
Well, I go farther than the parents know, knowing, because there are cases where the parents should know. Like, for example, if you look at Columbine, these kids were building pipe bombs in their bedrooms. Now, I didn't, unless I was given a reason, I tried to respect my children's privacy, but I still went in their rooms. I didn't go through journals or stuff like that. But if you got pipe bombs sitting on your desk and gunpowder, I mean, how the hell do you not know your kid's building pipe bombs?
Yeah. The first thing is the distance. I think I would have picked up on if one of my sons is not at the table anymore. He's not at the dinner table very much. He's in the back room. I don't feel like eating. That would be the first sign. A lot of solitary behavior would trigger questions like, what's going on here? What's up with you? I think all these people have shown that kind of a solitary dynamic in their life,
Mm-hmm. Okay, now
our parents got on us when we were in the garage making pipes and bongs. What are you making out there? Oh, nothing.
The crazy thing is, for me, I'm sitting here thinking like, yeah, I did hate that my parents were always in my business. I hated that my mom would go in my room, but I'm so glad she did as a parent now, because I understand what she was doing. She wasn't trying to control me. She was just trying to be aware of what is going on. Like, oh my God, my son has hypodermic needles all over his room. Let me figure out if he's on drugs. You know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like,
or if he's diabetic.
Yeah, exactly. And I hate to say this. I'm not going to even, I hate to be like this, but I have this inkling that Black parents are a little bit more intrusive into their kids' lives, to the point that we learned how to, we have to maneuver around them.
Don't close that door. Don't you close that door. What you close that door?
Doors in my house. You don't pay no bills in here. You can't have nobody up in your room. Yeah, right. I'm pick up the phone while you on the phone. Why? Because you on my phone. Like, that's
right.
Oh yeah.
I hated it, but in a way, I'm glad it happened. You know what I mean? There's limits to it. Yes, you do have to give your kids a certain amount of privacy, because they are developing humans. They need to learn how to do these things on their own. But you need to be in their life to the point where you can tell if something's wrong. Like, my mom to this day can hear it in my voice. If I call her and she hears it in my voice, she'll stop. Hey, what's wrong? You're not sounding like yourself.
That's how my mother was. My mother always knew, no matter how much I tried to cover it.
And for these parents to sit here and not even think that anything was wrong, because kids don't often go to their parents and say, hey, mom, dad, this ain't working right.
Well, he said to him, I'm hearing voices.
This ain't working right.
What do you need? I'm hearing voices. Well, let me buy you a gun.
Yeah.
Maybe the gunshots can drown out the voices.
I need to shoot them. I'm sorry. This would have been a lot different if he just shot them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now the three of us have raised children. Johnny has not. So I'm going to give Johnny the flip side of it. And what were your parents the kind of parents that would have? Could you have been comfortable going to your parents saying, "Look, I'm struggling, or I'm hearing voices, or I need a therapist," or would you have been told to suck it up? Because you come from a jock family.
I do come from my dad's in our high school Hall of Fame, halfback, undefeated 3 years in the late 40s. My uncle was drafted by the Dodgers. So I come from a suck it up jock family. But, my mother was also, my Steele is not a real name. I came from Pittsburgh, California. So Steele Town was a name a coach called me in college, Johnny Steele Town, Pittsburgh. So my mother's Italian, Sicilian, and I was the baby. So she was there for me. Yeah, she was there. And it was, my siblings are 7 and 10 years older. So I was sort of like an older child. Yeah, I had a good relationship with them, and I was a decent, I don't know. It's hard to say because I didn't go down that path. I was a jock and a pretty decent kid, if you consider like 2.5 GPA decent.
And I'm going to mention, and I hope that it's okay that I mention this. Your brother Steve Lopez was a columnist for the Los Angeles Times. Is he still the LA Times?
Who also wrote the book, The Soloist, about finding a homeless musician on the street playing Beethoven. And then the movie, as I say in the film, in my stand-up act, my brother's played by Robert Downey Jr. Jamie Foxx plays a homeless musician, and being in the Screen Actors Guild for 30 years, having done a couple of network show roles, some advertising roles. Did you see the role that my brother got me in his movie? No role. No
hoping you're
role,
gonna come
none. Watch the movie. The movie's 10 years old, 12. There's 100 roles for like a 48-year-old construction worker and, pushing a gurney, blood pressure, 40 or, whatever. 100 roles in that movie for me.
I'm really going to rub salt in it. I met your brother once, and that was I got called to. I was called down to MC a big awards dinner for people who had done things to erase the stigma of mental illness. It was at the Beverly Hilton, and your brother was one of the main honoree because of that.
And that's
he's never been at such an event. He's never been at such an event for guys who got their brother a role in his movies. He's never been. Nobody ever spoke at that event. And
I'll tell you what else. I introduced myself and I said I'm a friend of your brother's, and he was like, "Wait, who?" I'm not kidding. I mean, it was like, oh, usually there's some people say it's your brother. So is there something I need? There's some Cain and Abel crap going on between you guys I need to know about?
Well, as I joke sometimes, he's got 3 novels, book of essays, The Soloist, a movie made about him, columnist with the LA Times, and he also does commentary on public radio in LA. But I'm at the sports bar in Turlock on Tuesday.
How many years between you guys?
6.5. So he was off to college when I was 11,
Okay, so
he was pretty supportive. He came to my college football games and we were pals. But he's always been, unlike me, I'm a little more of a screw up. He was always very career driven. Oakland Tribune, youngest columnist of the Oakland Tribune. San Jose Mercury, which is people don't know, is a really good top 10 papers in the country.
Yeah,
and then off to Time Magazine and such as that. But I'll be playing in Gilroy at Daryl's Country Western Bar on Tuesday. All Budweiser half off till 6.
And Uncle Sammy's Chuckle Hut. I'll be there. I'll be playing at Uncle Sammy's Chuckle Hut in Petaluma.
It's one of those deals where we came out of the same gene pool and out of the same womb, but he was always career driven. I was sort of, like you, I had local radio and TV shows. I had a couple of development deals. I was with all the same agencies we've all been with, your Brillstein or your
William Morris and
Morris. William Morris, I was always dogging when they wouldn't call me for a week, and I redid their letterhead on her on my graphic arts to write the Will Ignore Us Agency.
Well, that was the joke, and that's is that they would only and come to find out, and that's widespread throughout Hollywood. Is that the William Morris? I was with William Morris for like 15 years, and that William Morris will only call you back if you've already got a gig.
If you got something.
So that was the joke was at the Super Bowl, how come nobody saw Janet Jackson's other breast? Because it was represented
by William
Morris Agency. That was the joke. I was with them for about 15 years. And I was with Brillstein Gray for about a year.
The William Morris Endeavor now.
Yeah, William Morris Endeavor. They have merged. Where are you guys playing? Who's playing where?
I'm not, I got a bunch of shows. I got the Netflix is a Joke Festival coming up next month that I'll be on the 4th, 7th, and 9th. You can catch my shows.
Where?
I'll be at the Hotel Cafe on the 4th and 9th. And at
Hotel Cafe where? In what city?
LA and Hollywood. In Hollywood and the Bourbon Room in Hollywood on May 7th. On July 20th, though, the big day, I'll be getting my name put on the outside of the Comedy Store.
Wow, that's awesome
this year. So if you guys want to come see that, come through. It'd be great to have a whole Bay Area contingent there for that. So excited!
That's awesome. That's a huge deal. Congratulations, man.
It really is.
Don,
April 25th, Redwood Nights. It's usually the last Thursday of every month. Redwood Nights Storytelling Under the Stars at Deer Park Villa in Fairfax. Very, very special setting. The theme that night is, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but. So
that's great.
Come out for that. And then Speakeasy Comedy Nights every Tuesday night. The 23rd, in fact, Johnny Steele will be hosting and throwing down that evening. Speakeasy Comedy Night is in Fairfax as well. And we had Mark Curry recently. We got just super strong people bringing it on a regular basis. And then next month, I'll be in LA doing the Never Too Late show at the Curtis Theater. That's my play about my never giving up and my interaction with Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show as part of a deal I got with their library.
Awesome. And Johnny, you're at what fair?
I just want to know, it's wonderful for Chris, but my name is outside the old Tommy T's building in San Leandro. They didn't put it up there. I just spray painted it on the wall. And, I'm pretty good at graffiti. Well, as Don said, Max on Broadway, 23rd, 28th, we're doing a fundraiser for Will Durst, a bunch of us Bay Area comics at the Sebastiani Theater.
By the way, I saw that and I didn't get called on that, and I'd like to be a part of that.
Please come.
So let me know if they can use me.
There's only about a few of us. Me, I don't know who, Jeff Bolt. Come on up. Be fun. So that's just
Will Durst is comedy royalty in the Bay Area, and he's considered America's premier political comic. And he had a stroke about how long's it been now? 4 years?
3 years, more than 3 years.
Over 3 years. Getting ready for a show, backstage, getting ready for a show, and had a stroke. And so, and insurance runs out. When you need long-term care, insurance runs out. So I'll talk to you off the air and find out what the specifics are. But I would, I love Will. I would
come up for that. May 1st, Wednesday, Punchline with the old school guys. Always come to that and either do a set or hang out. You'd be amazed to see how many younger people we get that really like the show. And then Empress Theater with Diane Amos and maybe Derek Leonard. Cinco de Mayo, it's a fundraiser for a guy from the North Bay, a personal friend of mine for 40 years, gave me my first gig, Richard Friedman.
He was a manager of mine when I was first starting out, Richard Friedman.
Sweet guy, a brutal, carpe diem, my friends, because he was healthy and could be a brutal form of rare aggressive cancer. 3 months, he was completely gone. He's written over 100 articles about comedy for various newspapers. If you had a gig in the area, he would run out and do a story with you. I mean, top-notch guys all the way down to local chaps. And so we're doing a fundraiser, funeral bills are mountain. So we're just going to help the family. It's more of a gathering. It's comics and musicians, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo in the afternoon. So everybody can come. And it's a beautiful theater if you've never been to the Empress, Brian.
Awesome.
You're welcome to that if you want to pop in too. Beautiful room.
Okay. And I've got a couple big things that are coming up. My solo show, Not a Genuine Black Man, which was my first one and is the longest running solo show in Bay Area theater history. I stopped doing it and I wrote and did 5 other shows, and now I have brought it back because April 20th marks the 20th anniversary of the premiere of that show.
Oh my God!
As well as the 1000th performance. And my birthday. They all fall on the same day. So we're doing a special show on April 20th at the Marsh in San Francisco. If you want tickets, get them quickly. Go to themarsh.org, or you can go to briancopeland.com and there's a link. I'm doing 4 shows. I've done 1 so far, and the others I'm going to be there on just Saturday nights through May 4th. But the big one, the 1000th show and the big anniversary show, will be on the 4th. I'm sorry, be on the 20th. Other thing I want to mention, and I kind of mentioned it briefly on an earlier podcast, but didn't go into any detail. During the pandemic, I was bored as hell, like everybody else was under lockdown, and I wrote a crime thriller, called Outraged, and it sold. And it is being released internationally on the 23rd of April. I Googled it to kind of see where it was going to be. And it's at Walmart, it's at Target, it's in Amazon, Barnes and Noble, it's in the UK, it's in Japan, it's in, it's in Canada. It's like, whoa. So it's being published on the 23rd. And if you're in the Bay Area, on the 28th, we're having a very big launch party at Book Passage, which is the biggest independent bookstore in the region, if you're here in Northern California. So my friend Michael Krasny, who was the host of Forum on NPR for a number of years, is going to interview me. There'll be food and there'll be a food and drink, and we'll talk about the book. Yeah, and it's a rip from the headlines topic, and what it's about is the theme of it is that it's a Bay Area story. Somebody is killing cops who have shot unarmed Black people and not been punished for it, and my investigators are trying to find out who's doing it. And so far the advanced reviews have been really, really good, and. In fact, the publisher was so happy they asked for a second book in the series, and I wrote that book, and that book will be released in April of next year.
Are you sure you're not Steve Lopez's brother? Switched at birth, man.
Yeah, I don't know who you are either. Who are you? Who are you again? That was so weird. That was so weird because
Yeah, right?
it's just I expected to go, oh, because when I run to people who are friends or brother, they'll hug you because and he was like, huh. That's how he was.
It was like that when he was 12, for Christ's sake. By the way, I'm working on my solo show. I'm not a genuine hack man. And if I could make a living ad-libbing, I'd be killing it.
Johnny Steele, Chris Riggins, Don Reed. Thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to have you.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next week with a whole new panel. If you want to support the show, there are a number of ways that you can do it. If you're listening to us on audio, go to the whatever platform you're using and give us a 5-star review. That helps people to find the show. If you are watching us over YouTube, do me a favor and subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. And we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers so that we can do the show live. Right now, we pre-recorded on Wednesdays, drop it on Thursdays. I want to start doing it live so you guys can chime in, while we're doing this. So and also tell your friends. If you like the show, tell your friends, send them the link so they can listen to it. And we've got a lot. It's interesting. We got a lot of listeners in Norway. How the hell do we have? Who do I know in Norway? That's like Trump's. That's where Trump wants immigrants from, is from Norway. And for some reason, we got a lot of listeners in Norway. And I'm not dogging your country. Thank you for listening in Norway. We appreciate it very much. And they're coming out to see you with the Mudslide, Johnny, from Norway. They're going to fly out.
Yeah.
Is it better? Is that wooden shoes? Is that Norway or where is that?
I think that's Netherlands, I think.
The Netherlands with the wooden shoes and the nose. So I will check you out next week. Till then, be kind to your neighbor. He knows where you live.